Hey everyone, my name is Desiree Nielsen. I'm a registered dietitian here in East Vancouver. And today for the Vancouver Humane Society's Plant U platform, I'm going to be sharing my top 10 tips for going fully plant-based. So I went vegetarian first when I was a teenager, and I gotta be honest, I actually went vegetarian to try and impress a boy that I liked. Not the most honorable of intentions at first, but boys gone, vegetarianism stuck. And as I learned more about the issues surrounding animal agriculture, I decided that for me, it would be better to go fully plant-based, and I needed that transition to be really slow, really gradual, and to feel natural. So I've been fully plant-based for about 4 years now. If you want to learn more about the issues surrounding industrial animal agriculture, click the link below this video to learn more, and be sure to subscribe to the Vancouver Humane Society's Plant U platform to learn more about their work to help animals, people, and the planet. Now let's dive into today's topic. So the evidence for a plant-based diet is rock solid. As an example, in 2019, an international commission known as the Eat Lancet Commission reviewed all of the evidence and deemed the plant-based diet the best choice not only for personal health, but also planetary health. And you can click the link below to learn more about this watershed report. Now, as a dietitian, I see a lot of people who are trying to transition to a plant-based diet, but I also see a bunch of people who maybe come to me 6 to 12 months into their plant-based journey to help troubleshoot anything they've come up against along the way. So I am going to share my top 10 tips to help you fully transition to a plant-based diet in an enjoyable and nutrient-dense way. The first tip: don't just remove the animal products, replace them. It can be really easy when you're getting started on a plant-based diet just to remove the meat or dairy, and you forget that these foods have valuable nutrients, particularly fats, minerals, and proteins that you need in order to feel full, satisfied, and nourished. So take some time to find your favorite plant-based alternatives, and the subsequent tips are going to help you do just that. The second tip is to choose your plant-based milk alternatives wisely. You do not need dairy to build strong bones. What you do need, however, is calcium. And so when I'm looking for a plant-based milk alternative, I'm thinking 3 things: added sugars, calcium, and protein. You might be surprised to know that some plant-based milk alternatives actually have a lot of added sugars, which I would prefer to eat my added sugar in cupcake form and not take it in my milk. So I always choose unsweetened plant-based milk alternatives as a base for everyday drinking and cooking. The other thing you want to think about is how much calcium is in your plant-based milk. Now, most plant-based milk alternatives on the market are actually fortified to the same level of calcium as dairy milk, about 300 milligrams per cup, although some will even have more. And finally, let's talk protein. You might be surprised to know that not all plant-based milks have protein, even if they're made from typically protein-rich foods like almonds or cashews. When it comes to protein, soy milk is tops. A glass of soy milk typically has 7 to 8 grams of protein, which is equivalent to dairy milk. If you're not getting your protein in your favorite milk, that's totally fine. You just need to get your protein elsewhere, and know that you need to watch your protein levels at your next meal. Tip number 3 is to use the plate method to plan out your meals. Having a balanced meal is so important, not only so you feel full and satisfied, but also so you hit all of your nutrient bases. So when I'm thinking about a meal, I'm not counting calories, I'm not counting protein grams, because that sucks the joy out of eating. Instead, I look down at my plate and plan out what I need to put on it. So typically I'm aiming for half of my plate covered in fruits and vegetables. A quarter of my plate is starchy foods like potatoes or whole grains, and then another quarter of my plate is protein. Now, you can't just sprinkle a little bit of quinoa on your salad and call it a day. You want a concentrated source of protein, something like beans, tofu, tempeh, even hemp hearts. And there's a link below with an awesome list of 16 powerhouse sources of plant protein, so you can see which foods really are tops when it comes to protein. Next up, let's talk supplements. Now, as a dietitian, I'm very much a supplement minimalist. I believe that if you are following your plate method and eating a balanced diet, there is very little that whole foods won't give you. But there's really two exceptions to that rule. The first is for all eaters, not just plant-based eaters. And that is you need from birth a daily source of vitamin D3. Vitamin D3 is critical for your immune system, and it's really easy to get from a supplement, but very scarce in our food supply. How we're actually designed to get our vitamin D3 is when we expose our skin to UV rays. And since many of us live far away from the equator, we spend a lot of time indoors, and we wear a sunscreen, which we should. Do not stop wearing your sunscreen. It means we need to get our D3 in supplement form. The other one is just for plant-based eaters, and that is B12. B12 is not found naturally in the plant kingdom, but it's a common misconception that animal foods make B12. In fact, B12 comes from fermentation, which accumulates in animal tissues, including ours, and so I want you to get a daily source of vitamin B12 in your diet. Now, we can find fortified plant-based alternatives such as milk alternatives and one of my favorite plant-based foods ever, nutritional yeast. But I prefer as a dietitian that you get a daily supplement because we don't always eat the same foods every day. And so I don't want you to miss your dose, and I prefer for you to just get it in supplement form. And I really love, this is a local company. My entire family consumes these B12 and D3 gummies because who doesn't like a gummy? And so this is a really simple way to meet your plant-based basics in a delicious way, and it's super affordable too. Next, we're going to talk about another nutrient, this time in food form. Yeah, we got to talk about iron because you absolutely can meet your iron needs on a plant-based diet. It's just all about putting an iron-rich food on your plate at every single meal. So I'm talking about things like hemp hearts, cashews, tofu, or you can even cheat a little bit and take a spoonful of blackstrap molasses, just like Granny did. Iron is really critical for building strong red blood cells, keeping your body tissues oxygenated, which helps you to feel energized. And I typically recommend that as you're making this plant-based transition, it's a really great idea to get your blood work done at maybe the 6 to 12 month mark to see how your body is adapting to the change, because anemia can cause extreme fatigue and you will not be feeling your best. So you want to put more plant-based sources of iron on your plate. And if you click the link below, you're going to find a great list of 22 different iron-rich plant foods. Right. Tip number 6 is that you've got to get to know your seeds. Seeds are very much the underappreciated cousin of nuts, but they've got so much nutrition to offer, tons of minerals, and for 3 seeds in particular, hemp, chia, and flax, they've got your omega-3 fatty acids too. Omega-3 fatty acids are what we call an essential fat, which means your body can't make them, so you have to eat them. It's essential to eat them on a daily basis. And 1 to 3 tablespoons of hemp, chia, or flax are going to give you 100% of the omega-3 ALA you need every single day. Now, most of us know what to do with almonds or cashews. You just pop a handful as a snack or incorporate them into your cooking, but not everyone is as familiar with what you can do with seeds. But there's so much. They're really, really versatile and easy to use. You can stir them into your coconut yogurt. You can add them to your oatmeal, add them to a smoothie. And for things like hemp hearts, because they have a really mild, nutty flavor, they do really well just sprinkled on salads, soups, whatever you're making for dinner, and you can incorporate them into baking too. All right, let's talk beans, because I cannot tell you how many folks I've talked to trying to transition to a plant-based diet who are really unfamiliar or maybe even a little bit wary of beans, perhaps because they didn't grow up eating them or they're worried they might make them a little bit gassy. I've got you. First, you have to know why beans are so important. It's because they're very high in fiber. Most North Americans do not consume nearly enough fiber for optimum health, and beans will help you get there. They're also really rich in plant-based protein and minerals like iron and zinc that are so critical on a plant-based diet. And yes, canned beans are healthy. I opt for unsalted beans whenever I can, or just give the beans a quick rinse and you'll get rid of a lot of the salt that they can them with and add them to your favorite dishes. But if you want to give dried beans a try, because they're even more affordable than canned beans, never fear, it's really simple to cook and prepare. The first thing you want to do is make a large batch. If you're going to go to the trouble, don't just make a little bit, make a huge amount. Get a pasta pot, Place your dried beans in, pick out any that look like they're a little bit shriveled or wrong, and then fill up with fresh water and soak for 24 hours. Once you're done soaking, you want to pour off all that water. If you're worried about gas when you're eating beans, much of those gas-causing carbohydrates are actually water soluble. So when you pour that water off, they're gonna go bye-bye. Then you want to fill it up again with fresh, clean water and boil. Depending on the bean or how old the bean is or the variety, it's going to take between 30 and 90 minutes to get to the tender state. And then you can freeze them on a parchment-lined cookie sheet, put them into a zipper bag, and you've got fresh cooked beans in the freezer at the ready anytime you want to make a protein-rich meal. Now I want to talk about salt. And yes, salt belongs in a healthy plant-based diet, particularly when we're cooking with whole foods. We're eliminating a lot of foods that are typically really high in salt. So a little bit of salt will help make your meals extra delicious. But we also need to talk about what kind of salt you use. And you might be surprised to know that I recommend using iodized salt. Why? Because when we're eating a plant-based diet, we're not getting a lot of natural sources of iodine in our plant foods. And iodine is critical for your thyroid. So if you want to take care of your thyroid, which is sort of like the metabolic furnace of your body, you want to look for iodized salt. You can get good old-fashioned iodized salt, which is really inexpensive. We've been using it for decades, but you can even find sea salt that has the word iodized on it. All they've done is add a little bit of potassium iodide. It's completely safe, completely healthy, and you're gonna get a daily dose of iodine to keep your thyroid healthy and happy. All right, tip number 9, let's make friends with soy. Soy foods like edamame, tofu, tempeh, one of my favorite snacks, smoked tofu, are incredibly nutrient dense. They're high in plant-based protein, calcium, and iron, and you definitely want to have soy products as part of your healthy, whole food, plant-based diet. Now, I know that the internet sort of gets up in arms about tofu and other soy products, and the reason for this is because soy products contain naturally occurring phytoestrogens, and it's that word estrogen that sort of freaks people out. But I'm here to tell you that phytoestrogens are not only not harmful, but they appear to have a balancing effect on the body's hormones. And that's because phytoestrogens are 1,000 times weaker than your body's natural estrogen. So there is no need to fear the soy. I love using tofu in so many different ways. I will crumble it for a tofu scramble because I love a savory breakfast. I will cut it into squares and pan fry it as just a really easy sandwich filling. I love putting in a stir fry. I love roasting it. There are so many ways to eat tofu. And tempeh. Let's not forget about tempeh because it's really hearty and flavorful and such a great addition to any plant-based diet. You might be interested to know that a lot of the tofu we eat in Vancouver is actually made in Vancouver, and Sunrise Soy Foods is one of my fave local companies. Finally, I've got to say that there are no mistakes when you're on your plant-based journey. There's only learning. There is no such thing as a perfect eater. Every meal is just another opportunity to eat more plants and nourish your body. I hope you found this video helpful and discovered a few new tips to help you on your plant-based journey. Be sure to check the blog post below for even more resources to get you started. And if this video was helpful, consider sharing it. And don't forget to subscribe to the Vancouver Humane Society's Plant U platform to stay up to date and get involved in their work to help animals, people, and planet.